Chairs No Waiting, episode number 668, Mayberry Spirits. Two Chairs No Waiting is brought to you each week by the folks over at WeaversDepartmentStore.com. Drop by over at Weavers and check out the Mayberry Travel Guide by Randy Turner. If you want to know what to do when you go to Mount Airy, North Carolina, this is a great book. Head over and check it out. And while you're at Weavers, hey, show some Weavers spirit. Maybe you want to get a Weavers t-shirt or a Weavers hat. That's right, you can get both over at Weavers Department Store and wear your Weavers pride all around. Head over to Weavers Department Store and check it out. Two Chairs No Waiting is also brought to you by donations from listeners just like you. The executive producer of episode number 668 is Mike McGonigal. Hello, everybody. I'm Allan Newsome, your host for Two Chairs No Waiting, and it is always fun to be here in Mayberry. I hope you have had a great week, and I hope you're going to continue to have a great week as we go forward. Today was a holiday, a federal holiday here in the United States. And so this is a short week for some of us, and that is always, that's always a good thing. All right, so this episode I wanted to call the Mayberry Spirits, what I called Mayberry Spirit. Well, I got a couple of reasons I want to do that. And one of them was from a voicemail we're going to hear in a few minutes. And another was, because I've been watching Pluto TV. Yeah, I'll tell you what that means in a second. But we're going to talk about that. Then we're going to do some trivia, and we're going to hear some voicemails that you guys sent in. And then we're going to hear from Randy Turner. So that's what we're planning on doing. So the Mayberry Spirit. So I've been watching the Andy Griffith Show because a lot of people have been complaining because the Andy Griffith Show is no longer available on Amazon Prime Video, not for free. My guess is they're moving that over to Paramount Plus, which is the CBS owned, or Paramount, I don't know who owns it, but that company, their streaming platform. So my guess is they're moving it all to there so that you'll be encouraged to subscribe to Paramount Plus so that you can watch Andy Griffith Show and Star Trek and all the other things that they have over there, Twilight Zone. So that's my guess. And people had been asking, where is a good place to watch the Andy Griffith Show that's free and I can watch it all I want to? Well, one of the places you can do that on, it's called Pluto.tv. Now, Pluto.tv is an app on your phone. It can play on your smart television, and you can watch it in your browser on your computer. So you can go to channel number 510 on Pluto.tv and watch the Andy Griffith Show all the time. It's on all the time. I mean, it just is a loop. It starts at episode 1 and goes all the way through episode 249 and then repeats. So it's awesome. Now, it does show commercials, but it also shows, the best I can tell, the complete episodes. Now, there may be some episodes missing bits and pieces, but in general, they're showing the entire episode because it's a channel called The Andy Griffith Show. That's the only thing on it. And so that's definitely something you could go and check out, and it's free. So don't complain because there's commercials. Go get you a snack, go to the restroom, whatever you need to do. But Pluto.tv, and there's an app on your phone if you'd like to do it that way, or your iPad or your tablet. And you can watch it in your browser, on your computer. It's just really convenient. You can watch it wherever you are almost. Now, I've been doing that lately. And talking about the Mayberry Spirit, I was watching... I was watching the color episodes because they're on a loop, as I said. So you start watching, and then the episodes convert into color, and you just keep watching. You leave it on in the background or whatever you're doing. And, you know, from watching that, I've never been one that doesn't like to watch the color episodes, but I don't watch them as often as I do the color ones. I have to admit that. But I think fans, we are really missing out on a lot of good television by avoiding watching the color episodes. Now, I understand they're not the same because Don Knotts is not there. Barney's gone. And I understand they're not the same. But there are a lot of good episodes in those color episodes, those 3 years. That's 3 years of Andy Griffith Show enjoyment that you're missing if you don't watch the color episodes. Turn the color off on your television and watch it in black and white. Maybe that'll make you feel better. But I was just watching one just earlier. It was Emmett's brother-in-law. That's the season 8 episode And so it's in season 8 of the Andy Griffith Show. It's the last season. It's called Emmett's Brother-in-Law. And I got to say, it was really good. And I'd seen it before, but I really was paying real attention this time. And it was a really good episode. It really displayed the spirit of Mayberry. In that particular episode, Emmett's brother-in-law, it's his wife's brother, comes to town and is trying to, I don't know, get Emmett to become a insurance salesman. Well, he's not quite trying to, but that's what turns out happening, because Emmett doesn't make much money. And his brother-in-law says, hey, you can make $15,000 a year as a insurance salesman. Well, when Emmett's wife hears that, she basically says, hey, Emmett, you need to think about this. You could double your earnings. Well, doubling your earnings, that means he made less than $7,000 a year, but he was happy. And that was what the episode was really all about. As you watched it, he went, and because you could tell his wife wanted him to do that to make more money, he was happy with how much money they made. I mean, they had a house. They lived in it was a nice house. And so he took the job because Martha was kind of encouraging him to, and then he wasn't happy. So there's a lot to be said, and that's what the episode really talks about. There's a lot to be said about people getting to do in life what makes them happy. Now, we all don't get to do that. I know that. But Emmett had found the thing that made him happy. He enjoyed fixing things. He's a fix-it shop guy, and he enjoyed it. He enjoyed that challenge of fixing things and getting in there and digging through to figure out, how to fix it. The timer on the toaster was broken. So when he started trying to sell insurance, he just didn't do a very good job, and he wasn't happy. And as the course of the episode went along, Martha realized that Emmett wasn't happy trying to sell insurance. And so she agreed that he should go back to the fix-it shop. Now, isn't that really what we're talking about with the spirit of Mayberry? Now, spirit of Mayberry is love. I think it's love for your friends and your family and those around you, but it's also just a happiness that you have in your heart, which is what Emmett had found. He had found his Mayberry. He found his joy, his happiness, and then he kind of lost it for a little while because he was trying to make other people happy, and and he had to leave it. He was happy. He made enough money. They weren't hurting. $7,000 a year seems low, but not in that time frame. It was 1968. So it wasn't that bad back then. But anyway, it was just a really good episode. I'm encouraging you on this because it's a color episode, and it's just a good one. There's several funny things that happen. I continued to watch, and then there's the episode that came on a little bit later. That's the Church Benefactor is the name of it. It's the one where, if you've ever seen it, it's where they're trying to decide whether to buy the church robes or fix the foundation of the church. Okay, that's not what I'm talking about. But there are some great lines in these color episodes, guys. You got to go sit through them and enjoy and listen. Because here's what happened. They were getting ready to go to church, and Aunt B said, have you got your money for the offering plate? To Opie. And Opie said, yes, ma'am. And so she walked off, and Andy went, how much you going to put in the plate? Opie said, a quarter, just like every week. And he says, And then Opie went, do you think you think it could be a Canadian quarter? And Andy went, you're having trouble getting rid of it? Opie goes, yeah, none of the stores will take it. And Andy says, well, what do you think the church is going to do with it? And Opie said, well, it could be a missionary offering. Anyway, I just thought that was a funny conversation. And Opie, yeah, it could be a missionary offering for Canada. Anyway, there's a lot of good writing and stuff like that in those color episodes. And they're not all amazing, great, but there's a lot of good stuff. So don't cut yourself short, man. Go out and find that Mayberry spirit in those color episodes and see if you can't enjoy yourselves and just have fun with that. Speaking of the Mayberry Spirit, I have got a call in, voicemail, that came in over the week here, and I want to play that for you. So let's play this.
Well, what I like about Mayberry is it's the spirit of the thing. That's what it's all about. It's the spirit. Just like when you watch Miracle on 34th Street, Annie, all of those great spirit type shows. Like I said, it's all about the spirit of the thing, to keep the spirit up. I'm black, but like I said, it's all about the spirit. No matter what color you are, it's all about the spirit. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now, that was Calvin Braxton. He called in, and thank you, Calvin, for calling in. And you are so right. It's the spirit of the thing. That's what makes the Andy Griffith Show so special. And it's not just the color episodes. It follows through into or not just the black and white, I should say. I'm sorry. But it is also the color episodes where that spirit comes through. Now, many of us, a lot of fans, avoid those color episodes. So I just want to encourage you, go see what you can find. Find some quotes that you really like that. Well, it could be a missionary offering. So there's a lot of really good stuff like that, that I think you would enjoy. So just don't cut yourself short. And Calvin, thank you so much for calling in and just reminding us that Mayberry Spirit is what makes it special. Like you said, Miracle on 34th Street. It's a Wonderful Life. It's got a wonderful spirit to it, the Andy Griffith Show. And we are so thankful for that. So, all right. So we have a couple of other emails. This one, or voicemails. This is coming in from Spirit Walker, and he's going to talk to us a little about Johnny Paul Jason from the Man in a Hurry episode. If you'll remember, that's a different person. It's not Keith Thibodeau. I did have a call. Just let me go ahead and address this from Andy Holly. He had called in and was talking about that it was Keith Thibodeau that played Johnny Paul. Well, we knew that when we did the episode a while back about who is Johnny Paul Jason, we mentioned that Keith Thibodeau is normally Johnny Paul. And come to think of it, maybe Johnny Paul and Johnny Paul Jason are two different people, by the way, because one is Johnny Paul and the other, they always say Johnny Paul Jason. They'll throw in that last name. So maybe that was intended to be a different person. But let's hear from Spirit Walker in reference to a fan theory from last week.
Hello, Allan. This is Spirit Walker from the Andy Griffith Show Esquire Club Facebook group. I was listening to your podcast last week about the identity of the child actor who played Johnny Paul in Man in a Hurry episode. A listener suggested that it might have been Joey Scott, who played Opie's friend, Whitey Porter, in two episodes, Andy Discovers America and Opie and His Merry Men. But in doing some research on Joey Scott and comparing pictures of him against a picture of Johnny Paul in Man in a Hurry, I have to conclude that they're not the same person. I looked at the pictures of Joey Scott in other shows and movies, and every single one of them showed that his hairstyle was basically the same. It never changed. He always had his bangs cut straight across and his hair naturally parted to the right. But the kid that played Johnny Paul in Man in a Hurry, his hair was a little finer, and it was combed to the side, and it parted on the left. Also, the shot of Opie and Johnny Paul standing outside the church in Man in a Hurry shows that Opie was quite a bit taller than Johnny Paul. In the episode Andy Discovers America, Whitey and Opie are basically the same height. Whitey might even be a little taller. The episodes were filmed only 2 months apart, Andy Discovers America and Man in a Hurry. They were only filmed 2 months apart, and I doubt that the child actor grew that much in just 2 months. Blonde, fair-skinned child actors, they look a lot alike facially, but it looks like Joey's face is a little rounder than the child in question in Man in a Hurry. So that being said, I have to conclude that they're not the same actor. But, hey, you fans out there, keep spreading the Mayberry Spirit and keep watching. Keep your eyes open. God bless everyone.
Thank you, Spirit Walker. We appreciate that. And, yeah, the episode where we talked about this originally was episode number 658. It's called Who is Johnny Paul? And it's that's where this all came from. And I believe it was Spirit Walker that came up with the question. So he is interested in the answer. So you folks keep digging and keep looking. I think it wasn't a bad thought that it could be the person we were talking about here, but Spirit Walker doesn't think it is, and looking into it a little further. So keep looking. This is a great mystery to keep looking. Is who was Johnny Paul? Now, again, we're talking about Johnny Paul from the episode Man in a Hurry. We know Johnny Paul. Jason was Keith Thibodeau, but we just don't know who this particular Johnny Paul is. So keep looking for that. So thank you again. Thanks for calling in, Spirit Walker, with an update, with your update on that. All right. So now let's hear from Steve Scott.
Hey, Allan. This is Steve Scott from Doggone Firefly. Hit me, knocked me right down. Got an interesting thing that may or may not have come up before regarding Gomer and Floyd. I don't believe that Gomer ever entered Floyd's barbershop, but he did talk about Floyd twice. On the first episode of Gomer Pyle USMC, he mentioned getting a haircut like Floyd would have done back home in Mayberry. And when he visited Mayberry during his own series, he was in front of Emmett's Fix-It shop and said, "Isn't this where Floyd's barbershop used to be?" So that's 2 times he mentioned Floyd, but I don't believe he ever stepped foot in Floyd's barbershop during the run of the series. Just a little interesting note, a little bit of trivia there. And thank you. Great podcast. Thanks.
Well, thank you, Steve. I really appreciate that. And you are, I believe, correct. I can't think of when he did either. And that kind of makes sense if we think about it. The reason they brought Gomer into the Andy Griffith Show was that right after the episode Convicts at Large, where they were captured up in the cabin, not long after that, Howard McNear, who played Floyd the Barber, had a stroke. And so he was off of the show for a year, basically, from around, let's say, mid-season all the way through the next season. So because of that, they brought in Gomer into that next season to kind of be not a replacement, but another character that they could play off of. And so I'm not really surprised that maybe Gomer and Floyd didn't ever share any screen time during the show, because Howard was off at least half of that season and then came back toward the end. I believe the first time he was back was, I believe, the Divorce Mountain Style, where Barney was riding the white horse and went up on to Floyd's porch. And I think that was his return to the series at that point. I'm not quite sure, but I believe it's in that time frame. So great catch, though. I never really thought about that. I don't think he was ever in the barbershop. All right, so we have 2 more. So let's hear from Tom.
Hey, Allan, Tom Fogel calling here from Ohio. Just had a quick chance to listen to podcast number 667. You mentioned a question about Robin Hood having a stupid deputy. Was a true and false question and was answered as true, but just a little correction on that. Sheriff of Nottingham would have had the stupid deputy in not Robin Hood, but just a little clarification that crossed my mind. And again, enjoy your podcast immensely. And as always, anything Andy Griffith related. So just wanted to give you a little heads up. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up, because, yes, that was a question I read last week on the podcast. The question was, Robin Hood had a real stupid deputy, and the answer was true. I couldn't remember when they'd said that, but I definitely remember when they were talking about the Sheriff of Nottingham's deputy being stupid, having a stupid deputy, and Barney getting insulted by that. So thank you for bringing that up. I believe we had a few other people that had mentioned that to me as well, but this was a voicemail. So if you want to make sure you get on the show, voicemails are better. But thank you for clearing that up. I do appreciate it. And one last voicemail.
Hey, Allan, this is Taylor Turnbow from around Ruston, Louisiana, and I thought I would leave you a voicemail. I love your podcast, and I always look forward to watching your videos. They've always made me happy, and they're really calming for me, and I really, really appreciate all the work you're doing with the podcast and all. I always have a great time with it. I watched the Mayberry Man movie, and I thought it was really good, and everybody did a great job, and you did amazing. Absolutely. It was the best movie I've seen yet, and I've rewatched it at least 10 times. But I hope you're doing good, and I hope you, your family, and Jan stay safe with the weather and COVID especially. Thank you, and I hope you have a great night.
Thank you, Taylor. Thank you so much. And wow, thank you for watching Mayberry Man 10 times. That's right. Now, see, the pressure that puts on me is I have to try to remember the lines I had on the movie when I'm doing Floyd. People will ask me those lines. I'm going to have to be able to respond, aren't I? So thank you so much. And speaking of the movie, if you live in the North Alabama area, we're going to be having a showing of the Mayberry Man movie on the 30th of January. That's a Sunday afternoon at 2 p.m. at the Princess Theater in Decatur, Alabama. So if you're in the northwest portions of Alabama or near in Tennessee as well, maybe even over into Mississippi, if you'd like to come over and join us, we're going to have special guests. We're going to have myself. I'll be there as Floyd. And Kenneth Otis Junkin, Kenneth will be there, and Bo Pierce will be there as Briscoe Darling. Briscoe Darling. He'll be there as well. So make plans to be with us on January the 30th, 2022. So make sure you know that if you're listening to this sometime later in a different year at 2 p.m. on Sunday at the Princess Theater in Decatur. So thank you so much. All right. So that is all the voicemails we got. So let's do a little trivia time, and hopefully these questions will be right. So there's our background music for trivia. Everybody get their pencils ready. We'll start with our true and false questions as we have been. Number 1, Barney arrested Gomer for running a stop sign. True or false? Barney arrested Gomer for running a stop sign. True or false? So I'm checking our chat room to see how they're doing with these questions. All right. Barney arrested Gomer for running a stop sign. The answer is false. That is false. That is right. All right. Question number 2. For what offense did Barney give Gomer a citation? Okay, wasn't for running a stop sign. For what offense did Barney give Gomer a citation? You got it? For what offense did Barney give Gomer a citation? The answer is making an illegal U-turn. Oh, this boob. There ought to be a number law against that too, by the way. But it was making an illegal U-turn. All right. So, what's the fine in Mayberry for making an illegal U-turn? What's the fine? So Gomer made an illegal U-turn. What's the fine in Mayberry for making an illegal U-turn? Oh, that's a good one. These are too easy. Well, this one's not. The next one will be. All right. What's the fine for making an illegal U-turn in Mayberry? The answer is $5. $5. Okay. All right. Who made a citizen's arrest on Barney? Who made a citizen's arrest on Barney? This is actually supposed to be multiple choice, but I'm not giving it to you because I think you should know it. Who made a citizen's arrest on Barney? The answer is Gomer. Citizen's arrest, citizen's arrest. Oh, that's a good one. All right, so those are all related. Number 5. Gomer was fired by Wally. True or false? Gomer was fired by Wally. True or false? Last chance. Gomer was fired by Wally. The answer is that's true. It is true. That is true. Ding, 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 ding. All right, y'all got it. All right. Here's the next one. Number, 6. Which Taylor house guest kept Andy up nights? Which Taylor house guest kept Andy up nights? Which Taylor house guest kept Andy up nights? The answer is it was Gomer. It's your shocks. It's your shocks. All right, here we go. Well, this is too easy. Who sang No Count Mule? Who sang that? That's number 7. Who sang No Count Mule? All right. Last chance, because you got to know this one. Who sang No Count Mule? The answer is it was Gomer. That's why he was a house guest. No Count Mule, sit ho, or No Count Mule. And our final question, number 8. Number 8. On which appliance did house guest Gomer tighten the on and off switch? On which appliance did house guest Gomer tighten the on-off switch? All right, last question. In which appliance did the house guest Gomer tighten the on and off switch? The answer is the vacuum cleaner. It was a vacuum cleaner. See, if they're all from the similar episodes, they're not. Those are 2 separate episodes, right? Yeah, they were 2 separate episodes. But I get your mind already thinking, so it makes the question seem really easy because you're already going. So hope you did well. That was trivia for fun, not for any major incidents there. So, all right, so now let's go and hear from this week in Mayberry History.
Welcome to This Week in Mayberry History, a report by special correspondent Randy Turner of the Gomer and Cooper Pyle Comic Book Literary Guild of the Mayberry Historical Society.
This week, we continue our look at the long career of Lurene Tuttle, who Mayberry fans know as Annabelle Silby in The Old Lady Shoplifter. While Lurene's role as Margie on The Great Gildersleeves was one of her better-known radio roles, there is another she is particularly remembered for. Before we get to that role, Lurene appeared in numerous programs even while part of the Gildersleeves comedy. As I mentioned last week, acting in radio meant a talented and versatile actress like Lurene could play many different types of roles. One of her more celebrated was a role in the anthology series The Whistler in 1944 titled Death Sees Double. Lurene played twins in the thriller, using 2 different microphones to help distinguish the good sister's voice from that of the evil sister. At one point in her career during this period, Lurene was appearing in as many as 15 radio shows a week. The following year, Lurene added teacher to her resume, teaching radio acting through drama classes and tutoring veterans returning from World War II at the University of Southern California. Lurene continued to act in radio, primarily being heard for a few years in anthology series such as Suspense and the Lux Radio Theater. But in 1946, she began the radio role for which she is best known. The Adventures of Sam Spade was based loosely on the private detective protagonist of Dashiell Hammett's classic novel, The Maltese Falcon. The character had already been played in film by Humphrey Bogart. The radio series took a bit more of a tongue-in-cheek approach. Spade's secretary, Effie, was played by, you guessed it, Lurene. The show ran at first on ABC's radio network, then switched the same year it premiered to CBS, then switched 3 years later to NBC. In all, the show ran from 1946 through 1951, with Lurene playing the ever-faithful and efficient secretary Effie for the entire run, while 2 different actors played Sam Spade. In 1947, Lurene began appearing in The Red Skelton Show as various characters. She played the wife of Skelton's character Willie Lump Lump, Clem Cadiddlehopper's sweetheart, Daisy June, and the mother of the mean little kid, among many others. Red Skelton was so appreciative of her contributions that he bought her a mink coat after her first year with the show. Then did the same for the second year, and the third. When she finally left the show, Skelton had given her 8 mink coats. 1947 also saw another important event in Lurene's career. She had her first substantial movie role in the fantasy western Heaven Only Knows, in which an angel is sent to earth to rectify a clerical error in heaven that resulted in a man being born without a soul. Lurene had appeared in an uncredited bit part in a 1934 movie and voiced an unseen character in a 1941 comedy, but Heaven Only Knows provided her first real role. While still continuing to act extensively in radio and still teaching 2 classes a week, Lurene expanded her career to include even more films. She appeared in another 15 movies over the next 6 years, including as Cary Grant's secretary in Mr. Blanding's Builds His Dream House. She was one of the 3 witches in Orson Welles' film version of Macbeth, and played a supporting role alongside Joan Crawford in Goodbye, My Fancy. In 1950, while still appearing in radio, Lurene also entered the world of animation in NBC Comics, one of the earliest animated TV shows. And also in the cast, the great Howard McNear, Mayberry's own Floyd Lawson. She continued to occasionally voice animated characters over the next 30 years. That same year, Lurene also made her live-action television debut, appearing in an episode of the TV anthology show Stars Over Hollywood. Suffice it to say that throughout the rest of her career, Lurene appeared in numerous films and TV series, but she never stopped being active in radio. Her career shifted to film and television out of necessity, as the golden age of radio waned in the mid-1950s, but she never left it until it was no more. Over the course of her radio career, Lurene had nearly 900 appearances. She was heard alongside many actors connected with the Andy Griffith Show during that time. She and Howard McNear appeared together at least 27 different times. She had at least 22 appearances alongside Parley Bear, 21 alongside Olin Soule, 10 with Sam Edwards, and 9 with John Daner. It's little wonder that Lurene was often referred to as the First Lady of Radio. She also had another nickname, The Rock. That was not a reference to Alcatraz like it was in the episode Aunt Bee the Warden. No, in Lurene's case, she was called that by her peers because of her Rock of Gibraltar level of stability in the field. Well, that's it for this week. As always, thanks for listening. And remember to take care of yourself, take care of others, and take Andy's advice, and go out there and act like somebody.
All right. Thank you, Randy. As always, he comes up with great information. And if you want to make sure you don't miss out on any of what he does on the internet, send him an email at turnersgrade@gmail.com. turnersgrade@gmail.com, and he'll make sure you don't miss out on anything. So thank you again, Randy. And thank you for being here with me in Mayberry. It's always great to have you with us. And folks, if you're still here and you might be watching the YouTube video version of this, it'd be great if you would subscribe to the podcast. You can like and subscribe and all that kind of thing, because evidently that helps other people be able to find the podcast as well. So thank you for doing that. And make sure you do subscribe to the podcast, either the audio or the video version, so that you don't miss any of what I'm doing here on the internet as well. So folks, I think that is all we have for this evening. I would love to hear from you. You can give me a call at 888-684. No, that ain't right. 888-684-88. I've got to look at the number because I went blank. It's 888-684-8415. 684-8415. You can give me a call. You can also email me at floyd@imayberry.com, or you can just drop by twochairsnowaiting.com, the website. That information is there, as well as you can make comments there as you'd like to. That's the way you can always find out how to get in touch with me. I love hearing from you. Until next time, everybody, thanks for being here with me, and we'll see you next time on Two Chairs.